So, good morning, everyone. My name's Shazia Khan, and the unit we're doing is personal and professional development in health and social care. And we're looking at learning outcome 3 today. So last week we looked at learning outcome 2, which was to understand professional development in health and social care and what it is and why there's a need for professional development. And we also looked at in learning outcome, I'll just give you a summary of what we did in learning outcome 2, so you've got a little bit of an idea. We looked at membership of professional bodies. We looked at standards and codes of practice. We looked at what CPD is and why it's so important. We looked at the different legislation, the laws and the standards that we must follow. Why do you think it's so important to have laws and regulations and codes of practices in place? Why do you think it's so important to have laws in place and codes of practices and policies and things like that? Tina, why do you think it's so important? Zim, Faustina, why do you think it's so important to have laws and things in place?
To protect the vulnerable and to
Yes.
protect you as a worker.
Yeah. It's to protect you as well, isn't it, Faustina, as a worker?
Yeah.
If you have laws in place, for example, you may have important laws like, for example, health and safety law. If you lift something up and you hurt your back, you are protected under the Health and Safety at Work Act. Another one is if you suffer from any sort of discrimination from work, you've got the Equal Pay Act, Equal Opportunities Act. These acts will help support you. So that's why legislation is so important. We also looked at learning outcome. We looked at the codes of practice within health and social care profession. We looked at national occupational. We looked at examples of CPD in healthcare, making sure that you're reading, you're on top of things, making sure that, and we also looked at the benefits of CPD and what counts as CPD, training session, activities, reading a book, mentoring, shadowing, these kind of things are part of CPD. And it's really important to have these kind of skills, making sure that you are doing a variety of activities that identify these skills. You can be observing someone, and that could be CPD. You could be shadowing someone, and that could be CPD as well. Attending workshops or conferences, that is part of CPD. Reading, work experience, any sort of training that you're doing is all CPD. Why do you think CPD is so important?
It increases your confidence.
Confidence, what do you mean? You're right, but what do you mean by that?
As a carer, you'll be able to carry out your tasks diligently.
So how does CPD help you?
It helps. It helps to maintain and improve skills and knowledge.
Sorry, what was that? It helps to what, Gina?
It helps to maintain and improve skills and knowledge.
So give me an example of something that may be CPD that you could do in health and social care profession.
Like reading journals.
Reading journals, what kind of journals?
Journals on health and social care, like the changes in legislation,
Yes.
like following the nice
Good.
guidelines and all.
Gina, why is that important?
So that you stay up to date.
Excellent. And why is it important? Again, I'm going to ask you another question. Why is it important to stay up to date, Gina?
So that you know when there are new rules and regulations.
Excellent, excellent. And why is that so important within health and social care profession? It's more important. I believe it's a lot more important. Why do you think it's a lot more important?
For the safety of our
Patients, isn't it?
patients.
You are providing a service. You are making sure that where you're working is safe for that person.
Yeah.
You know, and you follow legislation, you follow the requirements, the codes of practices to
Yeah,
make
it's
sure,
correct. To check for me if it's been approved.
yeah,
And I
make it.
also think it keeps you abreast with time. It
Sorry,
doesn't
what
make you
was that, Faustina?
yeah, but it keeps you abreast with time.
Yeah, that's
You are
so true.
always, yeah, you're always abreast with time. You will not
Yeah.
be repeating the old stuff because there are always new ideas coming up.
And it's important to keep up with the times, isn't it, Faustina?
Yeah, and then you become highly competitive. In case you meet you are even with in outside of your own domain, it
Yeah.
still makes you highly competitive.
Yes. So, you know, it's really important that, you know, you are on top of things. Um, and you are knowledgeable and you're able to read around the area. For example, you know, for me, I teach law and business, but more of law changes all the time. So I have to keep on top of things and make sure any new legislation that's come in, if I'm teaching family law, if there's any new legislation around family law, I'm up to date with that because all the time the law is changing to make it better or, you know, to make it rigid for people as well. So we're going to go on to learning outcome three, and learning outcome three is to understand. I'll just get it a little bit big for you, just 1 minute. The just can you see this? Is this better now?
Yes.
Understand how reflective practices support personal and professional placement developments. Indicative content. Understanding how reflective practice supports personal and professional development. So we'll be looking at the definition of reflective practice. What is reflective practice for you when we talk about it? What is the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about reflective practice?
And to me, I'm thinking of the mind. If you are
Okay,
to reflect anything concerning the mental or the mind,
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
okay. Anyone else got anything else in mind what they think reflective practice is? Why is it important to reflect?
So that whatever you've learned long ago or
Mm,
whatever you did, you regurgitate. You think
yes,
of what you did and improve on your mistakes.
yes.
What you can even do it better than you did before.
Yeah.
So it's
So what we're
about
going to do
you.
now is we're going to go into it a little bit more detail so you've got a little bit of an idea. So key terminology, what reflective practice is, and it's this powerful tool that is for personal and professional development, allowing you as an individual to analyze your experiences and learn from them and improve. You know, it's reflecting. For example, if you're a student and your teacher tells you to do this way, and you could have got a merit, you will do that, won't you, to improve your mark? So it's making sure how you did well, what you did, what did you learn, what was easy, what went well, what was difficult. And, you know, reflecting is really important. You know, I believe that, you know, it is so important when you reflect on something. So it might be things like, you know, you're reflecting on your training, that you've had. You may have had a training course and you may be reflecting on it. Uh, Maybe reflecting on what skills you've acquired, what areas you need to look at more, you know, areas of improvement. Does it make you better to reflect on it? Why do you think reflecting on something makes you improve? Anyone? Deborah? Why do you think reflecting on something makes you improve?
As you reflect, you get to know your lapses and you get to know your strength. Where you think you are lacking, you try to work on that. Where you think you did well, you try to do more, not to maybe to challenge yourself. and
Yeah.
not to impress any other.
So reflecting has its benefits and it has its drawbacks as well, but reflecting really
Yeah,
helps someone.
it
So,
does.
reflecting is really important because it really helps people understand where they're going wrong and what they should be doing. So you've got explain what reflective practice is. We've had a look a little bit at that. Is it is meant to examine your experiences and make sure you are leading performance. It involves, like, it could be through learning, it could be learning through experience, it could be self-reflection. Reflective is to reflect on one's actions, and sometimes, when you're reflecting, does it give you the idea of doing more courses then? If you
Yes,
if
I
you're
think it
reflect
does.
if Sorry, what's that? Sorry, Tina.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
Because a reflective learning, I think it's like if there's an incident,
Yeah.
you need to know when, what, how, what happened.
Yes.
So maybe you will find out, like, if there's an accident, maybe there was service provider who was not trained very well.
Yes.
So it means they need to be trained so that that
Yes.
mistake
So
doesn't happen again.
they need to make sure that you're having continuous training. They need to make sure that you're reflecting, your reflective process is ongoing all the time.
Yeah.
You self-question yourself, you critically analyze things. It's really, really important. It makes an individual improve in areas they're not that good at, and it really helps. I think personally, for me, I prefer if someone gives me feedback and tells me to reflect on certain things, because I think it helps a lot. So there are two models that we'll be looking at in more detail. First is the Kolb's learning model, which looks at elements of, David Kolb's theory around it. And then we're going to be looking at another one, which is Honey and Munford's models. So we'll go through each model to identify what these models are. They've got different approaches to reflection and how we look at these models as well. So the first is Kolb's learning cycle. Okay, this model. Let me just So Kolb's learning cycle is one of the models that we'll be looking at before Honey and Mumford. And his learning cycle is a model of learning that emphasizes the importance of experiences in learning. So, it looks at the element of concrete experience, um, reflective observation of new experience, and abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. And we look at them in a little bit more detail, so you've got a little bit more idea later on as we go on. And he identified it actually involved four stages. So the four stages, as we said, is his learning styles was the four stages. So first one, experience, reflection, conceptualize, and the test around it. And he looked at them in regards to how they work for him. Okay. And Kolb's theory, as we said, set out four diverging learning styles as well, which we'll look at in a little bit. Just give me 1 minute. So So he had the first one was concrete experience, and this was the initial stage, um, where it's about feeling. So it provokes your reaction and a learning process. Then was the reflective observation, which is about watching. Learners here think about analyzing their experiences in that diagram. If you can have a look at reflecting on why it happened and what happened. And then you've got abstract conceptualization, which is about thinking based on learners from new concepts. They form new theories, they form new ideas, and they have an understanding and experience of it. And then active experimentation is doing, where the learners put their knowledge into practice in new situations and start doing stuff. So these were the learning styles adopted. Kolb's believed that we cannot perform both variables on a single axis, and he said that we need to work together. So he said that, you have to have two learning styles. And he said the main element of this is trying to work together with the styles to make an effective learning style, and making sure you work through the stages of active experimentation, which is doing, and reflective observation, which is watching, and then concrete experience and abstract conceptualization. So he was looking at elements of that in there. The learning styles that were adopted, as we mentioned, is in regards to Kolb's, was diverging, assimilating, converging, and the element of accommodating. And we'll go through each one so you've got a little bit of an idea of what each one does. So the first one is the diverging. This is feeling and watching, sorry. This is where people look at things from a different perspective. What do you think that means? People look at things from a different perspective. What do you think that means? People look at things from a different perspective.
People see things differently.
Okay,
It
so
could be the
does that
same
mean
thing.
everyone is the same?
No, people are different. It could be the same things, but people will have different interpretations.
Okay, so give me an example of that. You're right. You're right, but just give me a little bit of an example. What do you think?
It's like what they say, knowledge is like a baobab tree. It's got
Yes.
many branches. So what you see it as this, someone will also see it as that. And all the ideas come together to make that one full knowledge.
Yeah.
Though
So not
everybody
not
will
not
say different,
everyone.
but it will be same. Yeah,
So
not
not
everybody
everyone.
thinks same.
Yes. So not everyone thinks the same, do they, Faustina?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So everyone has different feelings, and everyone has diverging, that people look at things from different perspectives. They can be sensitive. They prefer to do, watch rather than do. Some people are only people that like watching rather than doing. People are all different, remember. And if you're a watcher, you prefer to do watching rather than doing. And, is anyone a diverging kind of learning style, feeling and watching? Is anyone like that? What do you think? Do you just watch? So diverging, is people looking at things from a different perspective. Then we've got assimilating, and that's a different way of doing it. Assimilating is where it's watching and thinking. So the simulating learning preference involves a concise, logical approach. Ideas and concepts are more important than people. Ideas and concepts are more important than people. What do you think they mean by that? They're just watching and thinking kind of person. They're less focused, these kind of people. They are balances reflective observation and abstract conception. And these kind of learners emphasize reasoning. And these learners prefer to actually view the facts and assess the concrete experience. Then you have the next one, which is converging, which is doing and thinking. And these learners' approach is learning from a problem-solving lens and prefer to find technical solutions. So they like to, use their learning to find solutions. And why is it so important to have different learning styles and people be different? Why do you think it's so important? Because everyone learns differently.
Like you first said, we are all different.
Yes,
And
we all
how you
learn
would do things
differently.
is all different. Some
Yeah,
are having short span,
yeah,
attention span, some are having long attention
yes.
span, some are good
I,
analytic
I,
style, some are
Faust
good,
yeah,
yeah.
Faustina, I can't sometimes sit still. I have to move around. Do you know? And if I'm sat in a lecture and it's going on too long, I'll start to fidget.
You see.
Yeah,
So that's it. So I'm thinking that's why people
yeah.
we are different.
Everybody learns differently. Everyone will adopt a
Even
different learning
somebody
style.
can learn whilst you are rather singing. The person learns from that.
Yeah,
So when you are talking, the person will not hear anything.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. And the final one is accommodating, which is doing and feeling. And these learners tend to be adaptable and follow their gut rather than resorting to some sort of logic. And these kind of do hands-on activities. They prefer doing hands-on activities are accommodating one. So the next one is Honey and Mumford's theory, which we're going to look at in regards to learning styles and different elements of theories. And Honey and Mumford's theory, they identified different stages in the learning cycle. They had an activist, a reflector, a theorist, and a pragmatist. And we're going to look at the different learning styles, but I want you to try and identify which one you are, because it's really important, because everyone has a different element of, identifying what they are, and we'll go through each one so you can identify that. So, there's four elements of that. Honey and Mumford, it was someone called Peter Honey and Alan Mumford, and they identified, like we said, four learning styles. And they represented different approach to learning with its own strengths and weaknesses. And by understanding your dominant learning style, they tailored your learning experience to suit that. So Honey and Mumford looked at that in more detail. So the first one was an activist. And an activist is someone who is thrives on new experiences and challenges. So they are hands-on learners, but they're not deterred from any sort of formal guidance or detailed instructions. Activists are also at an advantage when it comes to highly practice-based learning. So they're enthusiastic about new ideas, but need encouragement to pause, reflect, and join the dots from time to time. So, they love to tackle problems by brainstorming. Then we have the theorist, which is the next one. And the theorist learners seek to understand the underlying principle and theories behind a new idea. So they want to understand what the concept is. They enjoy models and concepts and system thinking. Theorists excel at analyzing complex information, spotting patterns, and creating coherent explanations. They have this ideology and they feel ready to go once they've had a ha. So they struggle with any sort of ambiguity or situations that require more of an initiative approach. And then we've got pragmatist. And pragmatist ones these are practical learners. They focus on applying new knowledge to real life situations. And like theorists, they take logical approach, but they are much more keen to put things into practice. Pragmatists are attracted to problem solving tasks, mastering skills methodologically, and seeking out structured knowledge that is clear and tangible. And then the final one is the reflector. And these excel in observing and reflecting on experiences, their own and others. Like theorists, they prefer to start in a research mode, but they're more comfortable with messy qualitative data, stories, and other disparate sources of information, drawing out tacit connections. They are less in a rush to work out the perfect answer. So there's different learning styles, and different ones learn differently. Which one do you think you are? Anyone? Does anyone, what does
You've
anyone,
just told us, so we will be monitoring ourselves. We will be studying ourselves to know.
what do you think you are?
Okay. So you just have now know this, so I'll be looking at myself and know who I am.
I think I'm a bit of both. I think I'm a theorist and a reflector. You can overlap it through both. Um, and I think I'm actually both of them. You know, um, So yeah, it's interesting. Have a read of it in more detail and have a look at it, and you'll identify what you think you are, because it's so important to identify elements of that. So there were advantages and disadvantages of Honeyford, his model, Honey and Mumford's model. And it was the fact that Honey and Mumford's learning skills allow individuals to understand their unique learning preferences. So that is one of the advantages as well. And it promotes this tailored learning experience that enhances knowledge and improve communication. So there have been criticisms of Honey and Mumford's learning styles, and they say that the idea was not to see these qualities as fixed, but also tackle the weaknesses. They're marketed heavily and used widely in adult education, and they have sometimes it is inconclusive as well. So there are disadvantages and advantages of this that you can look at in more detail. Some homework, have a look at this quiz on Honey and Mumford Learning Style Questionnaire, and it looks at identifying the element of what learning styles you have, and have a look at it and have a look at what you are as well, and email it to learnerwork@ukvarsity.co and take a screenshot of it. So the next part is 3.3, analyze impact of your own attitudes, values and beliefs on the provision of practice of care. It's really important to have our own values and beliefs. But we need to be supporting everyone within the health and social care profession. And it's an important factor because we all have our own beliefs. We all have our own values. Growing up, we had different values, either they be positive or negative. We had values put on us by our parents. Why do you think values and attitudes and beliefs are so important within the health and social care profession? Anyone, why do you think should we all have the same values, beliefs, and experiences? Faustina, do you have the same values and beliefs and attitudes as me?
No, I'm not sure it's same.
Sorry?
No, it
No?
can never be same.
Yeah, everyone has different ones. And it does
Yeah,
impact, does it have an impact on your job sometimes as well?
yeah, I think it does.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So you've got to be really careful with your values and attitudes and beliefs.
yes, I do. I'm
So think
always
about
careful.
question one here. I'm just going to ask you some questions so you have an idea of it. Think about two health and social care settings, such as residential setting or a daycare for individuals with learning disabilities. In what ways might the individual attending each setting be different from one another? What could it be? It could be their needs, their abilities, it could be their preferences, it will maybe their values, their morals, what they eat. They may want halal food, they may want, kosher food. Why is it so important to take this into account, Sheena? Why is it so
Um,
important that everyone, about 4 or 5 people come in and they've got different views and values and beliefs? Why is it so important to take them into account?
that's why we practice in person-centered care. It's not
Yes,
about us, it's about them.
yes. But also, we shouldn't let our values and belief impact on them, should we really?
No, no.
No, if we believe that, someone should, do this in a certain way, we shouldn't be telling them to do it like what we believe. Our beliefs are different. Especially being, disabled, you've got to work with people quite vulnerably, don't you? So it's really, really important to, make sure you are working with them properly. Another question is question two, why is it important that workers' own attitude and behavior is positive towards the beliefs, values, and experiences of individuals? Why do you think you should be providing a positive attitude? Anyone? Deborah, why do you think you should be? Catherine? Teru? Kazim?
To
Anyone?
encourage individuals to communicate and interact.
Yes. To individuals communicate, make sure you have this positive interaction between each other. Make sure you've got a good quality service. Why is it important? Why is it important to have this good quality service? Is that your job to provide that?
I'm thinking that makes them feel in charge of their kids. It
Yes,
makes them in control of
yeah.
whatever. You are not deciding for them.
You are not
That's what they
deciding for
want.
them. Yes.
Yeah.
So personal attitudes and behavior. So are the mental disposition or beliefs we have towards people, objects, or under. It's our own belief that we have towards people. Okay. Behavior refers to outward actions and conduct we display in response to attitudes, and then attitudes can influence our behavior, but behavior can also shape our attitudes, creating this big cycle of interaction. So having different attitudes and beliefs and everything can be a problem sometimes, but sometimes, we are there, to try to behave in a certain way, have neutral attitudes, don't be negative, have a consistent behavior with everyone. So it's really important in regards to that. So question 3, another one. Think about the influences on your development from the past and the present. Who and what have you been? Who and what have they been, and who are what they are now? This might be something from families, it may be from your network. Do you think sometimes can you change your beliefs and your attitudes and your development from when you were younger? Do you think you can change that? So, for example, something your parents taught you, do you think you
Yeah,
can
you
change?
can. You can change. If you
Yeah,
think it's not helping you, they are
yes,
saying society is dynamic. Everything is dynamic. It's only
yes,
the word change that can never be that you cannot change the spelling of the
no,
change.
no.
But you can change. Your
Yes, you
attitude
can
can
change. Your
change.
attitude
Your
can change.
behavior, everything you
Yes,
can change.
your belief. So it will be, Faustina. Sometimes it's very hard. I will tell you why. Because sometimes if you have strong family ethics and you're, for example, a strong Christian or a strong Muslim, your beliefs, have been put into you from a young age. It takes time to change. But with society and with everything changing and with societal changes, time changes, you will change then. Your thoughts will change as well.
Okay.
The next one is, how would you describe yourself in terms of beliefs, values, and preferences? So what your beliefs are as you grew up, were you influenced by your parents? Are you influencing your children now? Are you influencing by friends? Some of your beliefs may be from your parents, it may be from your, uh, family. I have met people who struggle to accept beliefs. I worked with a lot of people in my time from Zimbabwe and Nigeria, and their beliefs are very, very strong. And when you try to tell them something, they are very strong believers of their faith, and it's really, really important. I praise them for that. But as society changes, some of the, women have changed, but the men take time to change. And that's not because it's wrong, it's because of how they've been brought up, how they've been influenced by family, what is right, what is wrong. The typical thing in Muslim families and a lot of African families is the woman's place is at the home. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's the typical thing. Um, Anyone, do you agree? This is perception, historical perception that a woman's place is as a housewife and the man's place is to go out and work. Does anyone agree with me, or is it just me saying it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now society is changing, isn't it, China?
Yeah, it's changing now.
Society is changing. There's more women that are working, and there's more men that will stay home and look after the children.
Children, yeah.
And that's a big societal change, and it's really good that it changes. But this influence was put into us by our parents, by our friends, by our family. And I will be the first to say, my parents always said to my sisters and brothers that your place, my sister's place is in the house, looking after
Mm-hmm.
the husband and feeding the husband and cleaning for the husband. Now society has changed and my sisters are working. You know, change,
Mm-hmm.
people change. But
Yeah.
for a long time, historically, you have always this mentality in your head that as you're growing up, you're influenced by your beliefs, values, and your attitudes of your family. But then as you grow up and you have your own children, you adopt your own values, beliefs, and attitudes, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, a lot of it is from religion, a lot of it is from culture, a lot of it is, what your mother did and you follow her steps. Do you understand? Things like that. So, sometimes it's difficult for people to change from their attitudes, beliefs, but sometimes you have to because society changes. The next one is how would you like others to see you? How would you like others to see you? It's quite important, isn't it? Why do you think it's so important? How would you like others to see you?
I'm thinking how you carry yourself about. You don't even have to tell them.
Yeah.
How they see you is how they will describe you to be.
Is that important to you?
It is very
Yes.
important.
Yeah. It's important to me. I'm that kind of person as well, Faustina. I would want people to see me as a good person, as a caring person, as someone who listens. I don't want people to see me as a bad person. I don't know, maybe them are my values that have been put into my head, from my parents. But I wouldn't want to be seen as a bad person.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's that? Okay. So is everyone okay so far? Any questions or anything? Anyone? No? So what cultural customs, traditions, and expectations have been handed down from your family? Which of them have you abandoned and rejected? That's really important, that. And if you ask anyone that, they would be struggling to say we've abandoned. Is there anything you've abandoned that has been traditionally handed down from your family? What do you think?
Yeah, like that women do all the work in the house.
Anyone?
Like women doing all the
Yes,
work
yes.
in the house.
Yeah,
Like I
yes,
remember my dad never used to do anything at home.
yes.
All he would
My
do
dad
was
was
to
the
sit
same,
and eat.
Gina.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he would sit and eat. But
yes,
now if I look at my son does
yes,
everything. He cleans
yeah.
the house, he cooks.
It's like Gina. It's like, for example, my mother was very, very. She was a very pious woman, but very strong woman. Like a woman that made wore the trousers in the house. And my dad was very soft. And my
Yeah.
mother used to say, whenever a boy is born, it's very special. And then whenever his girl is born, is a less special. And I was like, my dad loved his daughters. We are five sisters and
Yeah.
two brothers. My brothers were very, very different. They got treated different, like, from my mum.
Mm,
But my dad treated the girls better than the mother. Not in a
yeah.
bad way. They always treated
Mm,
it, but, it was a little bit more extra for the boys.
yeah.
And that's what society within Asian culture, the expectation is, that boys are a little bit more better than girls. And the other
Yeah. And
expectation is that, within Asian culture, the beauty is the color of your skin. That was always taught. And it's so sad that we live in that society. As
mhm.
times change, we move and we change, don't we? We bring in our own values. We
Yeah, that's
abandon the
true.
other ones and we reject them. Like
Yeah.
you said, now your son does all the work, Tina.
Yeah, it does. Because
He wouldn't,
yeah.
he wouldn't have done that 30 years ago, Tina.
No, you don't have. And also because the boys were supported more, they ended
Yes,
up achieving more.
yes,
And
yes.
the girls they ended up with nothing.
Yes, you're so right, 100% right. And they say that, it was always that fact that you'd keep the boys, the kids, the girls at home and the boys would go out to schools and things. And
Yeah.
that's traditionally something,
Yeah, yeah.
if you reject that kind of stuff, it's okay because you change as society
Hmm.
changes. So personal attitudes and behavior and are really important. It works, you could have your attitude and behavior towards, especially working in the health and care, social care profession. Why should why should your personal attitude and behavior be different? Why do you think it should be different? What do you think you should, not bring your personal attitude and behavior to work?
Because it's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's not
Who is
about
it
you.
about?
It's about the service users,
Yes, the
and
service
it's
users, the
about
patients.
your company policies,
Yes.
not you.
It's not about you.
Um,
You have to look at
yeah.
having positive attitudes. You need to be
Mm,
making sure that you are, empathetic, compassionate. You don't have negativity towards people because that's so important. Um, think about a practice and how you could improve it. So monitor improvements in your practice, yeah, by checking with individuals you support and you are showing respect for their beliefs. In other words, that you are developing inclusive working practices, making sure you are improving inclusive practices. You are not prejudiced. You are making sure that you don't have any negative attitudes. You are taking onto account, if there's any improvements to take into account, you are taking them on account rather than, shunning them away. Personal values, attitudes, and personal values, attitude, and beliefs. So your experiences and your beliefs, why are they different? You have different experiences, you have different values, you have a different upbringing, don't you? You could have a different upbringing to my upbringing. Your background will be different to my background. You may eat something different, you may practice differently. Why is that all so important? Why is it so important to take into account other people's values, beliefs, and attitudes? Are we all the same?
No, we're
no.
not.
No. We all have our different values, we have our own different beliefs, and we all have our different attitudes as well. So looking at beliefs and what they are. So beliefs are the element of, what we believe, what our mental state, what an individual accepts as being true, even without absolute certainty of any sort of proof. They are subjective attitudes and convictions that sometimes something is caused. They believe are based on evidence, personal experiences, faith as well, religion. And they are your internal and personal beliefs that you are representing, perceives the world around you and what you understand as that. And then we have attitudes and values as well. Attitudes, values are core beliefs and standards that guide a person's actions and judgments. And attitudes are learned evaluations of feelings towards particular people or certain groups of people. You could have examples of that. You could have a positive attitude towards a certain political party and a negative attitude towards like smoking or positive attitude to social activism. So there's different elements of it. You could have different attitudes. Your beliefs can be different from each other. We then have professional values. What are our professional values? This is going more into your work. And what are professional values? Who are they guided by? They're more to do with the workplace, aren't they? Influencing how we interact with different colleagues and clients. They are professional practice. And these values are often extensions of our personal values and can be things like building an element of trust, maintaining this positive working environment. Then we have organizational values, and these are fundamental principles that guide an organization's behavior, decision making, and culture. So, again, it's to do with the organizational side of it. Conflicts between personal and professional organization can arise when an individual's beliefs, morals, and ethics clash with the values. Do you think that that could happen in any organization? Conflict between your personal and professional and organizational values?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Because
Give me an
one
example
time
of where it
I
might
met
clash.
a lady came to our care home
Yeah.
for an employment, and she told the manager she is a Muslim, so she will not be dressing or helping a
Yeah.
male service user, and because of that, she was not taken.
Yeah. Yeah. It does play a big part in it. But when you try to resolve it and mediate, you can help it. You can help someone become aware of it. It may be an organization that doesn't allow people to wear a headscarf. It might be an organization that doesn't allow people to wear a cross, because of their religion. I had a conflict between personal and professional organizational values when I was teaching. I was teaching this woman from the institution that I worked for. I was teaching her on the degree course, and she was a woman who was 82 years old, a really, really nice woman, Nigerian woman. And I was teaching her, and I love teaching her. But in one class when I was teaching about human rights and female genital mutilation. And she became quite angry in the session because she believed FGM was right in doing, because she'd had it performed on herself and it was okay. But when I was teaching it, the whole point of teaching it, that is a criminal offence in the UK. But it was very difficult because there was a conflict there because she thought I wasn't understanding her values, her beliefs, you know, um, and it was clashing with her morals and her ethics. But towards the end of it, we tried to, understand each other. And she understood what I was teaching because I have to teach it as an area, as part of the degree. She understood that it had to be done because in the UK it was regarded as a criminal offence, whereas maybe in Nigeria or any other country it was a normal thing. But because of that, I had quite a big debate because of her ethics, her beliefs. But that's why I'm saying when you are in that kind of situation, if you don't sit down and talk about these things, people will think that you are, putting things aside and not being able to reflect or, come to this arrangement and you are not understanding their values and beliefs. So it's really important to take into account your own values, beliefs. There may be within the Muslim community, a woman would not want a man to touch her hand. Some women they don't shake hands. So that's their beliefs and their values and their attitudes towards their religion. So why is it important to, be careful and be wary of what you do when it comes to attitudes, beliefs, and values, especially in health and care, social care profession? In any profession, but why do you think it's so important? Anyone, why do you think it's so important? Tina, why do you think it's so important to take on board everyone else's beliefs as well, not just your own?
To ensure that we deliver the quality service, because like I work in the community, and we also have patients. Some of them will say they don't want it's strictly female carers. Strictly, they'll say that. So if you don't listen to them, you end up sending maybe the male carers and they decline care. So that means you end up not caring for them. They don't get the care that they're not supposed to be getting.
And you need to take their concerns into account, don't you? Because we live in a society that we have to provide a fair service, but we have to also not discriminate against
Not discriminate.
So if a female wants a male or if she wants a female, we need to take it into account. But sometimes they don't. That's the thing. It's difficult.
It's
so
not
3
always
points.
easy.
So it is sometimes quite hard. 3.4, we're looking at reflecting on our own learning, and it's so important to reflect on your own learning because it's the way you look in a mirror and describe what you see. It's your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own motivation, your own beliefs to gain a deeper understanding of yourself, your values, and your actions. It all involves, actively questioning yourself, your experiences, your understanding, and making sure that, you are reflecting and, having this. Some people keep a reflection diary, because it helps them understand themselves and why it's so important. Why do you think reflection is so important, self-reflection? What does it help you do?
To develop your skills.
develop
and
your skills.
Setting
then and
yourself.
you'll know where to make changes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Where to make changes. And does it allow you for developing personal growth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it helps in developing personal growth also, to
Hiya,
make more
Tolu. We
research.
missed
Yeah,
you.
I just came in.
You
Hi
okay?
everyone. I'm good, thank you.
So personal growth is really, really important because it makes you reflection is when it's improving your personal goal. It makes you
Yeah,
understand your strengths and weaknesses.
exactly, exactly.
But sometimes people don't want to talk about their strengths and weaknesses. If you go to an interview, for example, they ask you, what's your weakness? And it's really, really hard. And I will be the first to say it. It's really, really hard sometimes to talk about your weakness because you want to impress that person.
Yeah.
But it also, self-reflection is important because it builds your self-confidence. It makes you enhance your, personal growth. It makes you get, more training in certain areas. It enhances your learning, makes you a better person, but improves your
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
And also,
yeah,
especially, for me, I think, if you're going for another job, it's really good to improve your training and everything.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and reflective questions to ask yourself, what are my strengths again? What are my weaknesses? What skills do I have? What problems are there at home that affect this? What have I achieved?
Mm-hmm.
Happiness, what makes me happy? What are the solutions? These are really important
Mm,
to identify that. Sometimes we don't want to identify certain things, but it's really important to identify it because by doing that, you are accepting yourself. You are saying that I could improve. And you know what
mm,
it is? We are all, every day we are learning, every day is a learning curve. So there's nothing wrong with saying I have a weakness in this. I will tell you my weakness. My weakness is I don't say no. Okay, that's my problem. I take on more work and then I complain to myself. I'm sitting down complaining to myself that why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But I can't say no. I will help anyone, be it family, friends, anyone, colleagues, I will help them without saying no, even if I have so much work to do, my own work. And that's something that's a big weakness, but it hasn't been a weakness now, it's been a weakness of mine for years. And that's something I need to build on, something I need to reflect on. I have a lot of skills. I do lots of other stuff that I have lots of skills, but I think my biggest weakness is to not say no. Um, and that is a big weakness for me.
and sometimes even you saying not saying no is not
Yeah,
totally a weakness to me,
yeah,
because you want
yeah.
to do something, you want to do more and going extra mile
Not
to
if you're
do things.
tired, Tolu. If you're knackered and you're doing all the marking and then you're not saying no and you're helping someone, then you're tired. I'm tired. Then I want to say no, but I just can't say it. I can't bring myself to say
Because
it.
the weakness is just still looking positive to me.
Yes.
Because
And sometimes, Tolu, when you're brought up in a family of with strong values and beliefs and everything,
yeah,
it's very
yeah,
difficult for you to say no because your
mm,
parents have taught you this all your life that you should help
mm,
people, you should help the elderly. If I see
yeah,
I once saw an elderly man and he had
mm,
very heavy carrier bags and I didn't even know him and I said, "Shall I give you a lift, uncle?" Things like that. My values and beliefs are strong within me, but sometimes they affect me as well because I can't say no.
mm,
So 3M1, assess how reflective practices supports professional development. So reflective practice, as we said, is a powerful tool for professional development because it helps you, like Tolu said, it helps you learn, continuous learning, identifying any gaps that you have that you want to try and fill with some sort of training or CPD. It enhances and promotes your self-awareness and it makes you enhance your understanding of your work. And if there's any gaps or skills that you need to develop, CPD will help you, won't it? So, reflective practice will help you identify any gaps, any sort of training that you need to do, and make sure that, you are fostering this personal growth as well by doing this training. So it could be mentoring, it could be shadowing, it could be reading a journal article, it could be anything. CPD is a wide range of things you could do.
Yeah.
The role of reflection is outcome-based CPD. Reflection plays a crucial outcome-based CPD by helping individuals analyze their learning and development, identifying knowledge gaps, and modifying their actions. And you become a better person, don't you? If you are
Exactly.
identifying your own gaps and critically thinking and making yourself self-aware, you are identifying your learning needs, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And why do you think CPD is so important?
Hmm. Learning is very important in
Yeah.
the society that we have because
Yeah.
you need to refresh your brain, refresh
Yes.
your memory every day.
Yeah.
Because there are some policy that comes out anytime, and you would not, if you don't learn, you are not informed, you don't know.
No, you don't know.
So there are
And
some
and you
acts
think,
that come in every time that we need to refresh on, to
yes.
think on. So if you don't learn every day, how would you know it? So
Yeah.
we need speed it every day of our life.
You do need to be on top of things.
So maybe
Yes.
after all this, you
Yes.
brighten the corner wherever you
Yes,
are.
Faustina, yeah.
I said after everything, you brighten the corner wherever you are, and
Yes, you
people
do, yeah.
even misses your absence when you are not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3D1, analyze the benefits of reflective practice. So reflective practice looks at things like, you're enhancing your skills, your confidence, your personal growth, self-awareness, making yourself self-aware, including effective practice, facilitating the development of knowledge in action, which is a coaching practice, and making sure you are, required to be any sort of further developments. You are also builds creativity and practice effectiveness. You are offering a mechanism for coping with demands, and for personal growth is really important. Again, improving your decision making, making sure you've got enhanced communication. It's really, really important is identifying the benefits of reflective practice and making sure that you're building on them. It will, if you reflect on yourself and make sure that there's critical reflective practice in place, it improves your understanding of how things work. It improves your deeper learning. It also improves your study skills, and make sure for organization you are improve your learning environment, making sure that you are providing, especially in health and social care, you are providing a quality of care to improve patient care and outcomes. And you will only do that as you're learning and as you're going through things, because nothing, CPD is really important because you have to be able to learn new things, and make sure that, you have reduce stress and more job satisfaction. That is what it's all about, to have this job satisfaction and make sure that you are learning on the job as well. And health and social care, if you reflect on things, you will reduce any sort of stress for yourself, and you will improve your job satisfaction. So if there are any promotions or anything, you are doing all the training to get them promotions, making sure you are on top of things. So we finished learning outcome 3 now, and we looked at the elements of the different learning styles. We looked at the reflective practice and personal professional development. We looked at supporting development impact on colleagues. We looked at the models. We looked at Kolb's learning cycle and the Honey and Mumford one. And we also looked at what reflective practice was. We looked at Kolb's learning cycle. We looked at concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and experimentation. We then went on to look at the Honey and Mumford's, the four Kolb's learning style: diverging, assimilating, converging, accommodating. And then Honey and Mumford's, we looked at the theorist, the activist, the pragmatist, and the reflector, and look at them for next week, for tomorrow, and identify which you are. You might be a reflector, you might be an activist, you might be a pragmatist, and you might be, a theorist. But it's not. It's easy. It's good to understand which you, or you may be two. Understand that. We also looked at 3.3 and we looked at analysing the impact of our own attitudes, values and beliefs on the provision and practice of health and social care and importance of that. We looked at personal attitude and belief, and also looked at personal attitudes with reflection to our values and our beliefs as well. We looked at reflection, why self-reflection is important, and assessing how reflective practice supports professional development. So CPD and elements of that. Has anyone got any questions? These are the resources we've used for today's session that you can go on. There's some links there as well that you can go on, and you can have a look at them. Have you got any questions before we finish the session off today? Anyone? So, ebooks and journals available on Moodle for you. These recordings over the weekend will be put on Moodle for you that you can have a look at. Tomorrow we'll be doing learning outcome 4, and then next week is the assignment discussion session. There's additional reading on reflection practice in health and social care, and the link is there. You could just go onto that link and right click and open the hyperlink up. Then we've got benefits of becoming a reflective practitioner, and it's actually there. You can look at that in your own time and have a read of that. Any questions or any queries or anything you want to ask, email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. And if you need to ask me anything, we've finished this session now. The next session is learning outcome 4, which is tomorrow's session, which we'll be looking at understanding how to plan our own personal and professional development in health and social care, and why that's so important in regards to, you know, what personal development is, why we should plan it and how we should plan it. Okay, so that is tomorrow's session, and that is the final learning outcome before the assignment discussion. Has anyone got any questions before we finish the session?
Well, I came late. I don't have any question.
Thank you, Tolu. Thank you, Deborah, China, Catherine,
Yeah.
Faustina, Kazim, and Tewu. And I will see you all tomorrow. And it's been lovely teaching you. And also, it's lovely that you contribute to the class, because it makes it more exciting and more understandable for other people as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I will see you
Bye,
tomorrow at
everyone.
11. Take
All
care.
right. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.